Namato Ratanatayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and to my teachers. Hello, good evening. So today is Friday the 3rd of July 2020, and this is Ajahn Sujan from Varapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. As usual, I'm here with you to share and to discuss. And first of all, I would like to thank you everyone for following online Dhamma talk every night and practicing chanting and meditation. So far it's over 3 months now. So thank you everyone. Thank you Manish, Ankush, sorry for pronunciation, Margaret, Karina, and I hope that everyone is having a wonderful time. So, but if you're in Aberdeen, it's not wonderful. It's raining, and it seems like we're going to have a rain for a couple of days. Yeah? So the wind rains, and then it seems like a winter is coming. So winter is creeping into the Aberdeen now. In the meantime, there are government resolutions, so-called, and easing off tomorrow. From tomorrow, 6 o'clock in the evening, all the public places, like a pub, is going to open, and so we'll see how it works. So we are in a kind of a transition from locking us down, and now we are going into the freedom. Oh, Ankush, thank you for your love. I wonder where you're from. And it seems Charanpan and Suresh. So yeah, everyone. Today I have a very sad news. This morning, after the chanting, I checked messages and realized that our most venerable Sanghanayaka, or the supreme the teacher or a leader of Nepal, at the age of 81, passed away due to the multiple diseases, and died in hospital after over 3 months of staying. And this is quite a sad story and a sad news for all the Nepalese Buddhists, and also for Nepalese, because he was a really charismatic monk, and he was really great speaker and writer, translator, and he had traveled worldwide too. So I had a chance to look after him in 2007, 6 and 7, when he was in the UK, and had a close relationship with him. And ever since, I became very close to him, and I go and ask guidance from him quite often. Every time when I go back to Nepal, I will spend some times with him and discussing and talking about the different aspects of Buddhism, and as well as how the Buddhism is there. So that's why it is quite a sad news for me as well as all the Buddhists. And I did have a chance to talk to him when he was in the ICU. And he was in great pain, and yet he said that we are all subject to death, and we cannot avoid it, which is similar to the Buddha. What the Buddha said was that marana dhammom hi maranang anatitoti. We are subject to death, and we have not gone beyond death. And that's what he meant. And when I was talking with his attendants again, I realized that he most of the time would practice concentrating or aware of this the sensations and feelings and all the pains, and occasionally he would do the chantings just to comfort himself. So this is a time of sadness to Nepalese Buddhists, I would say, throughout the world. And he was born a Buddhist, but didn't have chance to study Buddhism at the early age. And at the age of 11, his mother gave him to the Venerable Buddhaghosa, simply hoping that one day he will become a monk. So during that time, he was looking after Venerable Buddhaghosa, and also had a close audience with the other senior monks who were active in a promotion or the establishment and revival of Buddhism in Nepal. And after being with these monks for 5 years, in 2000, when he was 16, he went to Myanmar, or those days known as Burma, through India, walking from Nepal through India, and then from India to Myanmar, and stayed in Myanmar for 11 years. So during that time, he studied Buddhism and meditation, and like that. And the history says that he was the first foreign monk or a person to be completed the Thai Buddhist curriculum. It's called Saddhamma Jotika Daza. So he was very well known in Myanmar, and even later he was also translating Most Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw, who was the great meditation master, and who taught this meditation of abdomen all around the world and introduced. And the Mahasi Sayadaw, who was also the leading monk during the in the 6th Buddhist Council in Myanmar. So, and he was the Venerable Nyanapurnik, or the Sanganayaka. He was the translator for him. And later, after he passed away, Venerable Nyanapurnik became the personal translator for the U Pandita, and who was one of, again, great meditation masters of abdominal rising falling, and who traveled all around in around the world, translating his talks. So that's why it's a great dimish for all the Buddhists in Nepal losing such a great figure, charismatic and diplomatic monk. So this is Venerable Nyanapurnik. Yeah. So, but again, death is inevitable. We cannot avoid death. It doesn't matter whether we like it or not. We have to go, and we have to take that death, one day or another. So that's why, there is a reflection on marananusati, reflection on death. So one of the meditation is called the reflection on death. That one of the meditations that a Buddha introduced. Every one of us to be cautious and mindful of the death. Even when we look at the 4 foundations of the mindfulness, in that 4 foundations of the mindfulness, among that 4, the the bodily contemplation is one of the biggest among these 4 contemplations. And in that bodily contemplation, within that bodily contemplation, the larger version of the practice is the channel, the loathsomeness of the body, and that is again about the death. And after death, what happens with this body? There's 9 ways of contemplating that body, how it went. And then in the meantime, in the Dhammanupassana, there is also the section called the Marananusati, and it explains what death is. So that's why this death is inevitable, that we have to be mindful of. And then the Buddha further also said that if you know and if you are mindful of the death, then you become heedless in your day-to-day life. Swapnil just asked me, saying that telling me how I became a monk, and tell about myself, right? Okay, Hindavidya. So yes, he was a great monk. Okay, right. So just to give you a brief about myself, since you have asked. My name is Sujan. Okay, I was born in Nepal, and then somehow after I was come to Buddhism around 18 or 19 years old. Then I was fascinated about Buddhism, and I joined Buddhism. And after I joined the Buddhism, and I became a monk, and went to study in Thailand. And I studied in Thailand for about 7 years, complete 6 years, and then I was invited to help establishing the Indian Buddhist community in Wolverhampton in the UK. And I was there in Wolverhampton for about 2 years, helping establishing this Punjab Buddhist Society, which is the Indian Buddhist community, and successful at that, and that led me to stay more longer in the UK. And I was invited by the Thai temple in Staffordshire to help, and I went to help there around 5 years. And I was invited to come over in Scotland to establish another center, in which I helped and was able to successfully establish. And later I just wanted to set up, like my own private practice, and that's how this center established, so-called Varapunya Meditation Center in end of 2012, and officially established it as the center in 2013, so summer. And ever since I am here in Scotland. Meanwhile, in order to understand the Western society, so I went to join the postgraduate studies on religion and society at the Aberdeen University, and graduated from there on the religion and society in social science. And then now this is me. Okay. I hope it's sufficient enough for you to understand, and how you become a monk, how I became a monk, right? I became a monk. It wasn't easy, to be honest. Had a little bit of discussions at home, and I was going after I went to meditation. I was drawn to Buddhism more and wanted to study more. So I went to center, the Buddhist temple, almost every night and every day, and I spent much time in a center. And later I was offered to be a monk. So I went to speak with my parents, and they were reluctant to let me become a monk. But my desire was so strong that at the third or fourth time, I was able to become a monk, a novice monk in Nepal, and stayed around 1 year. And then my teacher sent me to Thailand to study there, where I studied Buddhism and Buddhist philosophies. So, and that's how I became a monk, and still being a monk. Hopefully, I will be a monk for a life. So we'll see how it works. We do not know. Okay, so life is uncertain, and life is uncertain. Death is certain, and that's what we always have to reflect. Even whenever we go to meditation, it says we always have to recite that. Life is uncertain, death is certain. Our life ends with the death. Death no one can avoid. So that is what is. So our life is uncertain, and we do not know. And it doesn't matter how good you're looking after, and somehow there is a possibility of our death. And Buddha gave so many reasons to die, and somebody will die simply because food stuck in your throat, or someone will die simply coughing, someone will die simply falling down, someone will die simply in an accident, or someone will just die because of the shock, and someone will die because of the cold, the heat, or there are so many ways that Buddha said that a possible ways that one could die, and most of the time we have a misunderstanding that we will die when we are very old, and that is a misconception. And there are so many people who never died for about 100 years. But we cannot live more than probably 100 or 110 years. So, but our life is possible of ending at any time, any moment. So that's why death, according to the Visuddhimagga, classified into 3 categories. The first category is called the Tadanga, means the complete destruction, and that is possible for only those who have completely eradicated all the defilements, and that is basically like the Buddhas and Arhats, those who have attained the Arhatship, then they will they completely die. So that means there is no reborn again, and there is nothing that conditioned them to reborn again. And the second death is it's called the momentary death, and this momentary death again, we cannot see it, but if we are clever enough and our mindfulness is really good enough, then we will be able to see that, because the whole mass of our body is constantly arising, getting birth and then dying. Basically, all the particles, all the particles in our bodies are simply born and dying, born and die, born and die. There's a continuous flow going on. So this is a momentary birth and a death, in which we hardly accept, and that is what we need to understand. But it's not easy to understand. And then the third death is like the temporary death, and that we normally are having it. So our death is temporarily. So and then we live in this life, and let's say 40-50 years, 40-50 years, and then after 40-50 years of living, we will die. Okay, and then that death is not the end of the death. So we have to reborn again on the basis of the actions that we have done, not because someone has imposed us, or not because so-called Atmans or the God that we have to reborn again, but because of our own action that we have done in this life takes us to the next birth. And the birth will end the day when we end our action, on simply the action, no reactions. So that's our, as long as we have a greed, hatred and delusion remains in our minds and our hearts, our death in these realms will be a temporary death. So a temporary death, we will be reborning again. So that's why our life as a human in this world is so short that we should be very vigilant and careful and using this life very skillfully. Our life is very short compared to the life that we have lived in the past. We do not know. According to Buddhism, we have lived so many lives in the past, and then we do not know how many lives we're going to live in the future. So compared to those lives, this life that we have now got is very, very short, and as a result we have to appreciate and use it very, very well and skillfully. And that's the reason why we have to cultivate good things, avoiding all the bad things. And a complete death or complete attainment is, again, we can do by getting rid of all the defilements that is, it's called asavas, that is firmly established in our minds and our heart. And again, these are just the conceptual deaths. And then there is another, the how do we die? And there is one is called a kala marana, means the timely death, and then akala marana, untimely death. So kala marana here basically means on the basis of our so-called lifespan or life extension. Consciousness ends and then we die. And here life extension consciousness ends because of our karma has come to end, or our merits has to come to end, or both has come to the end. And with that end, then that is known as the timely death. And here the timely death, according to a Buddhist concept, our human life at this time is the maximum, or the standard life is the 75. And once we have crossed the 75, then we have lived our life well. And after that is your benefit, and you have to use it properly. You have to use it wisely after 75. Do not lose it and live life very happily. Enjoy the life that you have. And that is 75, and then every 100 years, one year will decrease. So that is the concept of Buddhism. Okay, Buddhist concept of a life expanses. Okay, and the second is untimely death, and that is that death is can be caused by different reasons. It could be because we are caught up into the accident, or it is caught up into someone's like a fight and then got killed, or we are in a different in a vulnerable place and somehow it got into us, and these are the accidental death. And like this coronavirus, it's very uncertain. We cannot make it certain that this is because of this. But sometimes those who passed away due to the coronavirus could possibly because the accident, unmindfully, not cautious, and then going away and associating with other people, those who have a virus, and that causes they shorten the life. And there is another concept that it may be because of the life extension, consciousness has come to end, and as a result he or she needed something as a cause to take his death or her death, and as a result somehow they go out and got the disease and got killed. So this is untimely death. And this is untimely death which we need to be mindful, because the untimely death is the most important things. And then death is like, since we do not know when it is coming, and as a result we need to live our life heedlessly, and then enjoy the life by not doing anything which is not beneficial, not good, but rather doing a good and beneficial for one and others, and most importantly purifying our own self. And that we need to do. And as a result, Buddha's teachings that whoever is in front of you, they are the most valuable person rather than anyone else, because we do not know, as soon as they're left, they may die and we never see them again. Yeah. So the one most important person is the person who is next to you, and we have to spend a quality time with that person. But again, death is like, someone is always chasing or cut you at any time. It's like a leaves on a tree. Once it got time, then it will just fall down. Yeah? So a leaf is just once the autumn comes, and leaves has to fall down from the trees, and that's our life is like that. And the Buddha also gave another simile. It's like a dew on a leaf, yeah, and that leaf and that dew can drop at any time. So, and also another simile is like our life is like a bubble created by the rain, and that bubble may not last long. So today, on the occasion of the Sanghanayaka of Nepal who passed away, I reflected on the death, just to give you some idea about the death, and we should be more aware and more reflective on the death, and not heedlessly thinking that my life is so long, I'm not going to be dying. But our life is so uncertain that death can come at any moment, any time. So with this, I end tonight's talk. There is one question came: what is the meaning of Sujan? So that means Su means good, beautiful, and easy. Jana means a person, or could be a birth. Okay. Now you can make your own decision which one you want to take. So Su means good, beautiful, and easy. Jana means a person or good or a birth. Right, so I offer tonight's talk on a death and reflection on a death in relation to the Sanghanayaka of Nepal's death. So with this, I end here, and I will end the last verses of the Buddha saying that all conditioned dharmas are subject to decay. Do not live heedlessly, be mindful, live mindfully, and be happy. So, thank you everyone. In a few minutes' time, we will have the chanting and guided meditation. You're most welcome to join for the chanting and guided meditation, or we'll see you tomorrow at the same time, 6:30, for the talk. Until then, good night and see you shortly. Take care. May the Buddha bless you.